Oh, that's the last time you've seen the video. So let me introduce our speaker this morning, who only needs a very short introduction, partly because of sheer force of personality, but also partly because this is week 3 of the Just Like Us series, and Adrian's been speaking every week. But just for those of you who don't know Adrian, he's our lead pastor, and I'm really excited to hear this message this morning, partly because he told me a little bit about it at the back, and I saw how excited he was. He was like a kid in a candy store coming up to Christmas. So I think it's going to be a really good message. So please, could you put your hands together and welcome Adrian Holloway.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you so much. Fantastic. Well, all of us have our own story. Maybe you have a story of how you came to know Jesus. And my story involves at a time when I wasn't in part of any church. I had no interest in going to church. Going to church was the last thing that I'd want to do. What happened was that one of my friends invited me along to church. And that person who actually led me to Christ, it's through that invitation that I became a Christian. It's through that invitation that I actually now lead this church. It's through that invitation that I came to know Christ personally. That person is here this morning, and I'd love you to meet her. So would you put your hands together and welcome my friend Caroline to the stage? Thank you so much. Now, here she is. Now, you'll now be able to see which of us has aged better, because here you are, and you're with Kevin, and Kevin is, just so you know, is over there, and I can see immediately, Kevin, you've still got your hair. But I wanted you to see this photo so you could see the way we were, but also just to show you as a church that I did once have hair. So you can see me there in the back row. I'm not actually paying attention for the photograph. I'm in the back row, not paying attention. But there we are. There's Caroline. And the other thing that strikes me immediately is that you and your husband, Kevin, over there, you've been an item for 40 years. Isn't that amazing? So let me just explain what's going on here. So at this time, there was a group of 20 of us. We were friends together. There was 20 of us. We did everything together. At the weekend, us 20, whatever we were doing was what we were doing. We'd all do it together. And then on this one Friday in Wimbledon, in Warple Road, we were at McDonald's, and Caroline, you invited all of us to church the following Sunday. And I just want to know, first of all, did you think at the time that you were being brave, inviting all 20 of us to church? What did you think?
Well, first of all, just to clarify, that my recollection of this was a little bit more hazy than Adrian's, because obviously I'm 55 now. This is 40 years ago, and sometimes I can't remember what happened last week, let alone then. So when we reminisced about it on the phone, it was really wonderful, actually, just to remember what happened then. But I didn't remember that I'd invited 20 people. That was sort of gone in the distant memory. So I guess really, yeah, probably that was a bit brave. But actually, I was a new Christian at the time, and I was on fire for Jesus. And, actually, that was the best decision that I have ever made. And, when you've made a decision like that, why would you not want to share that with other people? I had experienced the joy and peace in my teenage years, which is a tricky time, as some of you will know, like I'd never experienced before. And, I'd then realized what my purpose was for being here. So why would I not want to share that with other people? And actually, if we love our friends, the kindest thing, actually, isn't it, is to introduce them to Jesus. And that sometimes can feel hard. But I don't know what you think, but actually I think people are really hungry for Jesus. They were then. They are maybe even more so now. People are hungry to know Jesus. They don't always realise that. People are searching. I see it all the time. I see it when I'm street pastoring on the streets. I see it with my neighbours. And actually just a simple invitation, that's what happened to me. I got invited to church. I invited Adrian. That actually, it's not a big deal really. It's just such a kind thing to do, isn't it?
And I'm so grateful to you. All 20 of us turned up. So that was, just so you know, this was September 1984. We all turned up in the gallery of Queen's Road Baptist Church in Wimbledon. Now, the following Sunday, less than 20 came back. I was one of a smaller number who came back. But I started going every Sunday. And 9 months later, I became a Christian. Just looking back on all this now, what have you learned looking back now on through what happened?
Well, firstly, that invitation to church, actually, church is not dull, is it? I mean, this morning, what awesome worship. I just think, actually, church, it's a great place where you can encounter God. We even got to dance this morning, if you wanted to, if you were free, better than any nightclub. So actually, church is it's not like a difficult thing to invite people to. So that's my first reflection. I think we talked about it on the phone, that actually when we went to Queen's Road, bit like here, maybe the worship wasn't quite as good, it was an easy place to invite people along to. And I think our experience was when we first went that we thought, gosh, some people here may be a bit crazy. There was tongues, stuff we weren't used to. But there were some really normal people there too. And actually, we were compelled to keep going back, weren't we? We were compelled to go back because we experienced the presence of God. So actually, that's my reflection, that actually, inviting people to church, they're going to have fun here, yeah? It's not a difficult thing that they're going to experience God. So that's my first reflection. And then I guess another reflection, that's something I've just been, that just came to me recently. I've been reading through Mark's Gospel. And in Mark 4, it talks about the parable of the growing seed. And it's probably something I've read many times, and I know it, but it came to me afresh that actually, all God asks of us, really, God asks us to scatter the seed, to sow the seed. And that might be by inviting someone to church. It might be praying for somebody, praying with your neighbour. It might be just sharing the difference that Jesus makes in your life. And in those verses, it says that whether you are awake or asleep, God grows that seed. And actually, that's really releasing. It takes the pressure off of us. It's really freeing that it's not our job to convict people of their sin and their need for Jesus. That actually, when we just step out, when we share, God multiplies what we do. And I see that time and time again. And really, that's the story with Adrian, that actually I did a simple invitation to church. And here is Adrian, a massive evangelism. And I give God all the glory for that.
Thank you so much. Well done, Caroline. God bless you. Thank you so much. Please. I obviously owe Caroline a massive debt. If you do want to chat to her and her husband Kevin afterwards, please do go and say hello. And if you are here for the first time, or maybe you weren't around last Sunday or the Sunday before, I thought maybe we would just do a brief previously on Just Like Us. So previously in our sermon series about Elijah, Queen Jezebel has married King Ahab. He is the king of Israel. She is the daughter of Ethbaal. Ethbaal is the king of Phoenicia, and Ethbaal is the priest and king of a pagan cult of Baal worship. They worship the storm god. Ethbaal's got his daughter Jezebel on the throne of Israel. And these two, King Ahab and Queen Jezebel, have built a temple to Baal in the capital city of Israel in Samaria. They have made Baal worship the official religion of Israel. Now, there's a prophet of Yahweh. He's the true God of Israel. Excuse me. I beg your pardon. Yahweh is the true God of Israel, and Yahweh has inspired Elijah, the hero of our story, to confront Ahab, and eventually there's a showdown on Mount Carmel. And so here are the prophets of Baal that he's summoned to do their thing. He's invited the prophets of Baal to, if your God Baal really is God, then let him call down fire. Let fire fall from heaven. Of course, nothing happens because Baal actually isn't God. But the moment, thank you, Julian, the moment that Elijah prays, boom, the fire comes from heaven, the fire falls, and all the people fall down and declare, the Lord, He is God. Yahweh is God. It's not Baal. Baal might be the storm god. Turns out he can't create a storm. He can't make it rain, and he can't make fire fall from heaven. But Elijah's God, Yahweh, He really is the Lord. And so we pick up the story now in 1 Kings chapter 19 and verse 1. Now, Ahab told Jezebel everything Elijah had done and how he had killed all the prophets with the sword. So Jezebel sent a messenger to Elijah to say, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life, Elijah, like that of one of them." In other words, this messenger says, you've got 24 hours. Elijah, you've got 24 hours before my boss, Queen Jezebel, finishes you off. Now, given everything that we've heard about Elijah so far in our series, we would expect Elijah to respond to this threat by saying, well, I think actually I'm going to trust Yahweh. Because the thing is that when Yahweh told me to go and confront King Ahab 3 years ago, and he told me to say that it wouldn't rain till I say so, it didn't rain. It didn't rain for 3.5 years. So Yahweh proved himself faithful. We'd expect Elijah to say that when Yahweh told me to go to the brook Cherith and Yahweh promised me that ravens would appear and bring me my dinner, that happened for months. Yahweh proved himself faithful. We would expect Elijah to say that when Yahweh told me that if I went to Zarephath, I'd meet a woman, she's a widow, she's gathering sticks, that she'd provide for me. That's what happened. Yahweh proved himself faithful. Even though there was a drought, there was a famine, every morning for 2 years, there was oil in the jug, there was flour in the jar. Yahweh proved himself faithful. And you know what, Mr. Messenger, we would expect Elijah to say, when that woman's son died, Yahweh proved himself faithful. And when I prayed to Yahweh, I brought that boy back from the dead. And do you know what, Mr. Messenger? When we did have the showdown on Mount Carmel, and the prophets of Baal did their dance, and I was taking the mickey out of them, and then I rebuilt the altar of the Lord, and then, Mr. Messenger, when I prayed to Yahweh to send fire from heaven, oh, Mr. Messenger, I only prayed for 30 seconds. The moment I said amen at the end of my prayer, Mr. Messenger, Yahweh sent fire from heaven. I mean, it was absolutely amazing. And so to be honest, Mr. Messenger, I'm kind of wondering, why has Jezebel sent you? Mr. Messenger, why hasn't Jezebel sent an assassin? Why aren't you trying to stab me? Why are you talking to me? Because, hey, if Jezebel really was such a big deal, then what will be happening right now is that you would be reaching out, stabbing me, killing me, but you're not. You're talking to me. Why are you talking to me? Because everybody in Israel now knows that Yahweh is God. All the people have all declared that the Lord is God. The Lord is God. He's the one who answered by fire. He's the one who sent rain after 3.5 years of drought. Your God, Baal, did zero. He didn't make it rain. He couldn't make the fire fall. Jezebel knows she's on the back foot. That's why she can't kill me. We would expect Elijah to say to the messenger. But when this messenger gets in Elijah's face, he makes a verbal threat. What happens is, verse 3, Elijah was afraid and ran for his life. You see, Elijah was just like us. He had the same frailties that I have, that we have, and off he goes. He sprints away. He runs away from trouble. What can we learn from the life of Elijah? That's the question that we've been asking over the last couple of weeks. So far in our series, we've made 7 points. So we're going to pick up with our 8th point in our series, which is you'll get yourself into a pickle if you allow fear into your life. The week after last Sunday's sermon, my wife Julia and I were going for a walk in Hawley open space, just walking the dog on a Monday. And if you'd been there and you've been watching from a distance, to be honest, first 2/3 of the walk were pretty unremarkable. We're just walking along with the dog, talking to each other. But if you'd been there 2/3 of the way into the walk, you would have seen Julia turn to me and begin telling me off, giving me a reprimand, a rebuke. She was climbing into me on the dog walk. And you might think, well, I wonder what was it that you'd said, Adrian, that brought this reprimand upon yourself? Well, what I'd done is I just said something, and what I said revealed the fact that I had let fear into my life. And so she's like, well, I'm not having that. I'm not having you letting fear into your life. I'm not just going to carry on the dog walk as if it hasn't happened. So she climbed into me on the dog walk because she knows this is true. I will get myself into a pickle if I allow fear into my life. And that's what Elijah does in chapter 19 of 1 Kings. Next, we see when he came to Beersheba in Judah, he left his servant there. That's going to turn out to be a little clue into the kind of frame of mind Elijah is in at this stage, is that he doesn't want anybody with him. He wants to have a proper strop. When you want to have a proper strop, you don't want anyone there pointing out that you shouldn't be in a strop. Get rid of the assistant. He's on the same team. Let's just see how far he's gone. He's gone all the way from Mount Carmel in the north of Israel. He's traveled all the way through the whole of Israel. He's gone all the way through Judah. He's now on the southern border of Judah. He's at Beersheba. And he left his servant there. Because you see, he doesn't want the servant saying, what are you doing, Elijah? This isn't like you. You wouldn't normally be running away. What's up? He doesn't want any of that. He wants to just vent. He's hungry. He's tired. He's angry with God. He doesn't want someone saying, hey, come on a minute. This isn't like you. So he gets rid of the servant and he goes a day's journey into the wilderness. He came to a broom bush, sat down under it, and prayed that he might die. I've had enough, Lord. I mean, it's just so... Has anyone in this room ever prayed this prayer? I've had enough, Lord. Have you ever actually said that? I've had enough, Lord. Can't do this anymore. Over and out. That's it. It's too hard. This whole thing is too hard. I've had enough, Lord. I'm downing tools. I'm running away. Take my life, he says. I am no better than my ancestors. And, of course, there were people like Moses, for example. This is way back in Numbers chapter 11. After about a year, Moses has led the people of God out of slavery in Egypt, about a year into the wilderness. Moses says the same thing. I've had enough, Lord. Can't lead these people anymore. Kill me, please. This is the Bible, Numbers 11. Kill me, please, Lord. Can't do this anymore. And Jonah the prophet, he said the same thing. Lord, take my life. He was so angry with God. Jonah was so frustrated with God. Twice Jonah prays and asks God to kill him. And so Elijah says, I am no better than my ancestors. And of course, that's another little clue, don't you think? It's almost as if God's there thinking, hang on a minute, Elijah. Whoever said that you were better than your ancestors? In fact, Elijah, haven't you fallen into the comparison trap? Oh, am I better than my ancestors? Am I worse? Oh, no, I'm just the same as my ancestors were. Because Moses prayed that he would die. Moses had suicidal thoughts. Moses had these thoughts. Jonah had these thoughts. And now it turns out I've got the same thoughts. I've run away. I've run away from the purposes of God. I'm no better than those other blokes were. But Elijah, when did God ever tell you it was like a competition between you and them? He's fallen into the comparison trap. That's why he's down in the dumps. That's why he's so fed up. Then he lay down under the bush and fell asleep. The next thing we see in our study in 1 Kings 19 is that you will endanger yourself if you ignore your physical gauges. You know, when you drive your car, you've got some gauges helpfully there. You know, you've got your fuel gauge, you've got your oil gauge, you've got your temperature gauge. But if you ignore those gauges and you just do not look at them, you don't read your own gauges, something bad will happen eventually. I mean, eventually you will run out of fuel, and it might be somewhere where there's absolutely no petrol. If you ignore the oil gauge, your engine might blow up, and then you're going to be in difficulties, yeah? Same physically. If you ignore your physical gauges, you can end up in the pickle that Elijah gets himself into in 1 Kings 19. Now, all at once an angel touched him and said, "Get up and eat." Okay, this is a problem. You haven't eaten anything. He looked around, and there by his head was some bread baked over hot coals and a jar of water, just what he needs. He ate and drank and lay down again because he's so tired. The angel of the Lord came back a second time and touched him and said, "Get up and eat again." God can see that this is the issue. For the journey is too much for you. You've overdone it. I mean, how many of us who get burnt out, this is the issue. You just didn't look after yourself. Was it some huge, massive spiritual battle? Well, sometimes it is. Sometimes you just self-care, self-awareness, looking at your gauges. He crashes. Elijah crashes in the desert. So he got up and ate and drank. Strengthened by that food, he traveled for 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Horeb, the mountain of God. So he's already traveled from Mount Carmel down to Beersheba. That's quite a long journey in and of itself. But oh my goodness, look what's happened now. He's gone absolutely miles. I mean, he's got another 200 miles in the desert. He's like a third of the way towards Sudan by this stage. He's all the way down at the bottom of the peninsula at Mount Horeb, which is otherwise known as Mount Sinai. So he's just decided to leave Israel. He's God's prophet to Israel, and he's just decided to leave Israel, and he's just gone off to do his own thing all the way down here. So there he went into a cave and spent the night. You see, this is what men do. There's a problem. I'm going to go into my cave. I don't want any communication. Don't bring any. I'm going into my cave. Don't talk to me. This is what he does. He goes into the cave and he spends the night there. And the word of the Lord came to him. "What are you doing here, Elijah?" It's not that God is kind of curious, like, "Oh, I had you on my GPS. You like gone? So where are you?" That's not the question. It's, why are you here? What are you doing here, Elijah? Because, Elijah, you are the prophet to Israel. So if you're the prophet to Israel, why have you gone back to where Israel was before they entered the promised land? You've like going through the life of Moses. Let's go back to Mount Sinai where he got the Ten Commandments. Look, whoa. We've gone past that stage. What are you doing here, Elijah? God wakes him up with that question. What are you doing here? You've departed from the place that I told you to go to, and you're just doing your own thing. What are you doing here? And it's a question that, we look into this and we kind of wonder, well, what's going on? And I wonder whether that's a question we could just reflect on a moment in terms of our church. Like what is going on at the Beacon Church? Well, actually, for us, is a really encouraging picture. What's going on in our church. If I were to ask you guys a question, how many first-time visitors do you think that we have had on a normal Sunday since we started meeting here 4 years ago? So let's just, to make it a bit more straightforward, let's just put to one side all the first-time visitors who came to a carol service at some point in the last 4 years, put them to one side. What about all the first-time visitors who came to a baptism service? Let's just put them all to one side. What about all the first-time visitors that came to a baby Thanksgiving? Just put them to one side. In fact, all the special Sundays, let's put all of the first-time visitors who came to one of our special Sundays, let's just put them to one side. Just talking about the normal Sundays, like this morning, just a normal Sunday. How many first-time visitors do you think we've had here on a normal Sunday in the last 4 years? Like, you add them all together? The answer is 1,300. Folks, that is an amazing number of people for a church of our size. For a church of our size, that is absolutely amazing. 1,300. And this just shows how well you guys have done. How well you guys have done at doing what Caroline was talking about, inviting a friend on a Sunday. It's just absolutely amazing. You guys have done so well. Now, of course, if we were to drill down into that 1,300, you and I would agree that, of course, there are some people who are first-time visitors on a normal Sunday, but they live in Manchester. The only reason they're here is because they're visiting their son or their daughter, or maybe they're actually from a different nation. They were just here visiting a family member. They're not going to come back on a normal Sunday. They're not going to come every week because they live in some other country or they live hundreds of miles away. So how many of those people are there? People who did come once, but we wouldn't expect them to come back because they live so far away. Actually, that's half. That's 650 of the 1,300 people that just live a long way away. Or even people that stay in the hotel, come downstairs, see the flags, come in. That's half of that number. So that means that there's another 650 people who have been here on a Sunday morning, and they live here. So these are people who are actually really interested in getting involved, and they got invited, or maybe they just typed into Google, church near me, send, and they turn up. There's loads of people like that. Church near me, send, just turn up, don't know anyone. So there's 650 of them. And what's even more encouraging is how many of those people come back. Oh, it's amazing. The vast majority come back not just once, they come back 3, 4 times. Folks, it's such an encouraging picture of what's happening with us. Our challenge is once they've been 3 or 4 times, and our welcome team are tremendously good at welcoming new people, once you've been 3 or 4 times, of course, you're no longer new because you've been 3 or 4 times. Maybe you've been for 3 or 4 Sundays in a row, so you're no longer new. So our challenge is about that next step, making friends, integrating those folks into the life of our church. That's where our challenge is. So I just wanted to mention to you that this term we are launching a kind of an informal buddy scheme. And we'd like to invite you, if you haven't yet joined in, if you'd like to volunteer to befriend someone who is new to you. They're not actually new here on a Sunday because they've been 3 or 4 times, but new to you. That's all it is. Being willing to be introduced to someone who's, they've been 3 or 4 times, so they're not new anymore. And you're open to building a friendship at the moment. All you're saying is, I'm willing to say hello. And so I just want to encourage you, if you could join in, if you could give yourself to being introduced to someone like that, please speak to any of the guys in the yellow t-shirts or speak to our assistant pastor, Chris McKinley, because this is our challenge. Is what we'd love to do is we'd love to make friends with the people who God has placed with us and who has sent to us. Let's have a look at this next verse. It's so important. Elijah's reply. Here's the complaint. I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. See, there's the comparison trap again. Some people are zealous for the Lord, but I think you'll find I've been very zealous for the Lord. I've been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. And here's another complaint. The Israelites, they have rejected your covenant. They've torn down your altars and put your prophets to death with the sword. No, Elijah, that's not true. That was Jezebel that put the prophets to death with the sword. That wasn't the Israelites. I am the only one left. It's just me. Oh, God, you've only got me. It's just me and God. I'm God's man. It's all about me. I am the only one left. There's nobody else. And now they're trying to kill me too. And of course, it's not true that he's the only one left. Because we know, because we read it in the previous chapter, and even Elijah knows that in the previous chapter, this bloke called Obadiah met him on the road. And Obadiah tells Elijah, good news. Elijah, it's not just you. Obadiah says to Elijah, I've got 100 prophets. I've hidden them in 2 caves. There's 50 in one cave. There's 50 in another cave. I've got 100 prophets of Yahweh. But Elijah completely disregards that. It's like he just dismisses it. And he says, no, it's just me. I'm the only one left. And now they're trying to kill me too. And folks, you and I will make ourselves sad if we indulge in self-pity and anger. And what's really tragic about this is that actually God does speak to Elijah when he's in his cave, when he's in his pickle, when he's running away. God does speak to him. God speaks to him in a still, small voice. And at the end of this, it turns out it's made absolutely no difference to Elijah at all. At the end of this amazing moment where God speaks to him in a still, small voice, God asks the same question, "What are you doing here, Elijah?" Elijah gives a word-for-word repeat of verse 10. Same excuse, same complaint. The still small voice has made no difference to him whatsoever. He gets stuck. And folks, you and I will get stuck if we lose sight of God's main purpose in the earth. What God is doing. It's not just me and God. There's more to it than me and God. If I'm in this world, if it's just me and God, me and God, me and God, what about all the other people? What about all the people? And so the way that Elijah gets back on track with God is when God gives him a specific task. Okay, this is the turning point. Verse 15, the Lord said to him, "Go back the way you came." You weren't even supposed to be down here. Whoever told you to come down here? Go back the way you came. Go to the desert of Damascus. Oh my goodness, that's like 300 miles north. That's the capital of Syria. Go to the desert of Damascus. When you get there, here's your job. Anoint Hazael king over Aram. Also, anoint Jehu, son of Nimshi, king over Israel, and anoint Elisha, son of Shaphat from Abel-Meholah, to succeed you as prophet. So he's got a task to focus on now. And this is brilliant because Jehu, he's the business. Jehu, first of all, he sorts out Jezebel. She comes to a sticky end. Jehu he eliminates Baal worship entirely from Israel. In fact, Jehu gets rid of all the descendants of Ahab. So he purifies the nation from Baal worship entirely. And then Elisha, oh my goodness, Elisha's amazing. So Elisha, he's going to be like your protege, Elijah. He's going to be like your legacy, like you're going to move on, but you're going to leave behind this amazing guy. Elisha, he's going to be like your signature in the nation. God's work's going to continue through Elisha. So God's purpose is bigger than just you, Elijah. It's not all about you. There's these other people who are going to do the plan and purpose of God. And then I love this, verse 18. We get to actually see what else God is doing. The Lord said to him, verse 18, "I have preserved for myself, Elijah, 7,000 in Israel, all whose knees have not bowed to Baal and whose mouths have not kissed him." It's not just you, because there's the 100 prophets in the caves that Obadiah told you about, but Elijah, there's all these other people. I'm moving in the lives of all these other people. And we don't have 7,000, but we have got quite a few hundred, and God is sending them to us. This is what's so exciting. There's this bigger picture. We'll get stuck if it's just God and me, God and me, God and me. But if we join up with what God is doing, it's through other people. There are these other people who God is moving through. God is moving in their lives. And so as we come to the end of our series, I suppose we've seen today that Elijah actually is, according to the book of James, a man just like us. He has the same passions. Literally, he's a man of like passions. That's what the Greek says here. He's just like us. He has the same frailties. Even this week, even since preaching week 2 of the sermon, I have fallen into one of the traps that Elijah fell into just 6 days ago. And it's so encouraging for me, and I hope it's encouraging for you to see Elijah standing there next to Jesus 900 years later on Mount Tabor. On the Mount of Transfiguration, there is Jesus. He's transformed. His clothes are turned into brilliant white. But who's next to him? There's Elijah. Moses is on the one side. He represents the law. Elijah's on the other side. He represents the prophets. But you know what? Both these blokes, Moses and Elijah, they both had suicidal thoughts. They both prayed, "God, please kill me." Look at this. 900 years later, oh my goodness, look, there they are, either side of Jesus. I mean, all the disciples are like, Peter, James, and John are like, "Whoa, hey!" But Elijah and Moses are like, yeah, turns out not to be a problem. God used them. They were just like you. They were just like me. And yet God used them. Isn't this encouraging to see how Elijah ends up here? Either side, and this is true of you, you too will stand with Christ in glory. Not because you never stumbled, but because he never failed. You see, in the last analysis, it's not all about how strong your hold is on him. Oh, no, I gave in to fear and I ran away from God and I kind of ran away from God's purpose in my life and I kind of let go of him and I even had suicidal thoughts. No, that's not the be-all and end-all. Turns out God hasn't let hold of you. It's not about your hold on him. It's about his hold on you. You see, he hasn't let you go. He never fails. Isn't that amazing? The last point in our sermon series, our 13th and final point, is that some of you may be like, or just like Elijah, in that you won't die. And you might say, well, I'm not sure about that, because in the Bible, it's just like there's two people who don't die. There's Enoch in the book of Genesis. He doesn't die. And then you're right. There's Elijah. Elijah also doesn't die, because at the end, Elijah gets caught up to heaven in a chariot. But the Bible says that there'll be some other people who won't ever die. And I think some of them are in this room. Maybe the band would like to come and join me. You see, Jesus tells us in Matthew 24:14 and in Mark 13:10 that the gospel will first be preached to all nations and then the end will come. So at some point, the Great Commission will be completed and then Jesus will come back. And so what happens is that every single week, missiologists track how close are we getting to the Great Commission being fulfilled? How near are we getting? Because we know that every tribe, every tongue, every language, and every nation will eventually be reached, that there will be a church in that tribe that's capable of reaching the tribe, and there will presumably be a Bible in their heart language. So every month, people are tracking how close are we getting to that point where every single nation, language, tongue, and tribe has been reached in that way. And folks, we are getting closer. And there's quite a few people who have set as a kind of a target 2033, 2033 being the 2000th anniversary of the death and resurrection of Jesus, as a date when we will have got to that point where we fulfill the Great Commission. Now, of course, we don't know the day or the hour, and we don't know whether we'll get there by 2033, but we're definitely getting closer. And it might be another decade after that. It might be another decade after that. I don't know. But I think there is a real possibility. There is a real possibility for some of the younger people in this room that you will be like Elijah. You'll be just like Elijah in that you won't die. Because 1 Thessalonians 4 says that when Jesus comes back, there will still be some Christians alive at the time, and you will rise up and meet him in the air. You'll be just like Elijah. You'll never die. That's what the Bible says. Shall we stand together? Lord, we give ourselves to you. We join you this morning on the top of Mount Tabor. We come to the Mount of Transfiguration. And we look upon you, our glorious Christ, who never let go of us. And we may come with our frailties and our failures. We may come as Elijah. We may come as Moses. Maybe we've had suicidal thoughts. Maybe we've run away from the plan and purpose of God. But we thank you, Lord, that we're standing with you now, not because we never stumbled, but because you never failed. We thank you for your faithfulness. We thank you that we'll join with you in the glory and that we'll stand and declare that Jesus Christ is Lord. Let's come to him. Let's worship him. Let's sing to him. Let's adore him, our great God and King.
Hey guys, before you go, we just want to say a massive thank you for watching this video today. My name's Chris. I'm part of the leadership team here at the Beacon Church. You know, as a church, we have a big vision. We believe that we exist to help people to know God, to find freedom, to discover their purpose, and to make a difference. If this video has made a difference in your life today, then make sure you check out our other content in our playlist. We believe it's going to really help you out. And don't forget to like and subscribe as you go. Well, that's all from me today. Take care. God bless.